And welcome back to part 10 of the Dragonstar Varnir Madness playthrough, where today we're continuing our journey through the wilderness of spells to reach the other side and try and get away from the continuing conflict between the Knights and the Ravens. Of which the Ravens have been installing devices onto dragons to subtly manipulate them, but it's not finished yet, so they can't completely control them. They can just influence them to attack the Knights. So we're going through here to try and swerve the whole thing if we can help it. Additionally, off screen, I did wrap up the dragon cores that I collected during our first visit to the Wilderness of Spells last part. As in, I upgraded them and assigned skills and such. So, Manessa now has Heal All, which is a slightly weaker healing spell, but, you know, it hits everyone, so that's just gonna be more helpful on hard mode. Especially with a boss that's coming later on, it's just gonna be more helpful on hard mode than having single target healing. And I gave P Explosion to Charlotta. I think I gave it to Zephy as well, which is what we got off the optional boss that we fought in the temple. The North Star Temple. But we got a few new encounters, but most of the enemies here we either fought at the start of like at the start of this area last time, or are just returning enemies from previous dungeons, which made me kind of have to be a bit more debating on what encounters I keep in and what ones I get rid of. Like this one I keep in because I wanted to show off P Explosion and just nuke them all because it is a powerful skill worth having. But beyond that, it's kind of a hard one to justify. Also, I accidentally triggered this scene early because I got too close to the marker. We came a long way. I'm just glad we were able to get away from the Ravens, though. We're almost out of here. Let's get moving. Wait a moment. Zephy is falling behind. He's been quiet. What's gotten into him? Maybe bumping into his friend is making him reminisce about the Knights. No, he's probably crying about not being one of the Knights anymore. What a sap. You say that, but don't you ever miss being home at the den? Well, of course, how could I not miss being back at home? Shouldn't Zephy be allowed to miss his old home too? He lived with those people for years. I should go check on him. The Knights might be our enemies, but Zephy has a lot of memories with them. I guess you're right. Come to think of it, we really don't know anything about Zephy. I can say the same about you, Charlotta. That's true. Where's your home, Charlotta? My home? I don't remember. Why are you avoiding the question? I'm not avoiding it, I really forgot. Zephy, are you okay? You're looking pale. Oh, hey, Lapinette. No, I'm not tired, I'm just thinking. Are you thinking about your friend? Yeah, his name is Gran. I see. I've met Gran before, actually. Really? I didn't know that. Oh, right. It was when the Knights captured you, wasn't it? That's right. I'm sure all the Knights are this way, but he seemed especially loyal to the teachings of the Empire. That is to say, he loves the world created by the holy god Varnir. That's why he can't find it within himself to let witches simply exist. He sees us as people who will just bring calamity and destruction into the world. I don't know what to say, I'm sorry. It isn't something you need to apologize for, Zephy. I can understand, for the Knights it's all they know. What kind of friend was he to you, Zephy? Well, he was a pretty serious person, but he was always honest and would never abandon someone who needed his help. Oh, he's just like you, huh, Zephy? Huh? You think so? Yes, I do. Like me, huh? Maybe that's why we got along so well. I know how he thinks, he knows how I think, too. That's a nice kind of friendship to have. Yeah, but that's in the past now. If it's possible, I just want to get rid of this curse and work with the Knights again, but... It may be in the past, but he let you go. He must still value you. A bond like yours can't be broken so easily. You're right, I think I just need to have faith in that. I'd be open to talking about it if you'd like. What kind of things did you do together? Well, we were always training, so I don't have that many funny stories about our time with the Knights. I remember when we first joined, though, we were always the ones that had to go around doing errands in town. I've heard there are a lot of nice shops out there. Is there a shop that happens to sell cute accessories? Oh, of course, there are definitely places like that. Sometimes merchants even sell them on the street. Do you like that sort of thing, Lapinette? Yes, I do. I would often ask Mr. Informant to bring me things like that, if he ever found any. Come to think of it, that accessory you found earlier is quite beautiful. It's so shiny. A bracelet, huh? It's beautifully made. Yes, I don't know why, but I find it rather appealing. Talking to her like this makes me feel like witches and humans aren't very different at all. What is it? Oh, it's nothing. I'm just sorry I haven't been giving you that much to talk about. No, it's okay. I find this very interesting. Towns are so exciting and fun. Or sound so exciting and fun. I thought it was my duty to hunt witches until very recently, but now I shudder at the thought of torturing them. What's going on with me? What do I really want? Is that a dragon? It sounded like it was coming from over there. We've gotten pretty far from Manessa and the others. We gotta hurry over there. Yeah, which we will do in a bit. I didn't mean to get this cutscene straight away. Especially because there's another significant fight in this area coming up. So, once again, I've got to kind of bring up that little warning per se of, hey, if you don't like the whole discussion of the three kids and their fates in the madness path, well, the last of the three kids is actually here. Which, to be fair, I predicted. I said it'll probably be one of the wildernesses. But you're gonna, so I'm gonna, as I did on the first run, I did the upper path first, but then I circled back round and do the lower path. Shikita's dragon is on the lower path. And so we are going to stumble into it as we go around. But on the plus side, if you can think of one, it means that after this, it's just going to be the madness cutscenes as they come and go. No more torturing ourselves. It's the leftmost red dot on our screen. The leftmost one. That is the dragon that we are working towards. And to be fair, as I've said before, I've never done the madness run, so I didn't know when the dragons were going to pop up, or where they're going to pop up. And so, I didn't know, like when I was going to do my clear up and do my circle, I was just doing like circling around anyway. I didn't know I was about to run into Shikita's dragon, and you're going to tell I wasn't aware of it and wasn't prepared, because when we get to it, I immediately stop what I'm doing and go through all my skills and start upgrading stuff and rearranging my equipment, because I was like, oh shit, this is right here, okay. These are some of the more annoying enemies in the game. I know I mentioned it on my original playthrough, but they've been escalated because it feels like all of their status-inflicting moves have a higher chance of connecting now, so don't have people on the same row when you're fighting the paralysis dragons. There's also the weird little crab ones that for some reason called dragons. Yeah, these guys, the dragon scissors. Which are a nice pace breaker, but if they ever do a sequel, if, and it's a very wide if, I'd love to see more variety in enemies. I know it's called Dragon Star, and the primary appeal is the fact that every enemy is a type of dragon per se, but they could break away from that a little bit in a sequel. Like, they could still have dragons, but they could make it the excuse of, oh well, now things have been quote-unquote fixed. Everyone still has access to their magic, as was proven in the post-game of the main playthrough. So you could still have dragons around, but then just have other unique threats. And the dragons are still your main way of leveling up and getting new skills, but you could have alternate mechanics focused on the enemies that aren't dragons that will level you up. Like maybe you get more experience for killing them. Maybe they're all tied to quests. Like you could have more fun with it. Or make it like certain enemies, like every enemy you could eat and get skills from, but it's like dragons you get specifically attacking skills, or like you could be like a sea serpent sort of enemy type and it will be health based skills. Or you could fight swamp monsters and it'd give you the poison based skills. Like they could go all in on like the blue mage approach. By the way, there it is. You see, I straight up stopped because I was like, oh great, because I wasn't expecting to run into Shikita here. Like I literally just stopped dead in my tracks and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So I immediately said and sidetracked myself to instead prioritize upgrading my stuff. Which, getting a Red Devil is a nice alternative if you haven't got P Explosion yet, because you get a stronger fire skill and you get Fire Eater, so you can start getting Fire Eating. So I make sure to go for it more so I can have Fire Eater on Charlotta. And then I cut out like actually equipping and applying everything, but just to save time, but it is not how it is. But now when you're ready, push ahead. That? Hey, could that be? Yes, it's Shikita. I can't believe this is happening. What should we do? We need to defeat her. We must release her from her curse, just like we did for Raruta. Yeah, she's right. Yeah, I'm sure Shikita would want it to be us. Got it. Let's go.
Let's put an end to your suffering.
all three of the kid dragons I feel like are around the same strength and level. So Shikita being the last one we face feels the easiest because we're the highest level in contrast. But that being said, it doesn't mean get cocky. You will still get the floor wiped of you if you take the piss in this fight. But especially on hard mode, you know, because, you know, it's hard mode. I feel like I always have to bring that up. But specifically, are you weak to rock or wind? I can't remember. You're weak to light. Okay, neither. So you're only really weak to Zephy as it stands.
Try not to fall.
But my top priority, as per usual, is break the tail. Because a lot of its group-based skills are on its tail. Well, tied to. Yeah, Hell's Fireball and Hellfire. Hellfire is a row-based attack. So getting rid of it is very helpful, whilst Hell's Fireball just hits hard. I always end up just being like a bit more stumbly on my words than usual when it comes to the kid dragons, because it just depresses me. I know I talked about it in the other video, but it just does. I'm glad this is the last one we have to do. But it's still like... The strategy for this one isn't actually too dissimilar from Pio's. In a similar vein, although not as aggressively as Pio, Shikita will kind of waste turns here and there. It's just nowhere near as much. It's just every now and then it will just use a buff on itself, even though it's already buffed itself, and because they don't stack, it's a waste. So it's more accidental on the AI, it feels like, and not like Pio, where it feels like it's a deliberate thing, highlighting that she is more intelligent, so her dragon form is still showing hesitancy. Whilst this, it feels more clumsy, which I suppose is also fitting for Shikita to be more clumsy. Oh, I think this is actually what I mean, actually, where it uses Dragon's Roar and then just uses it again. They don't stack, but it attacks anyway and whacks Charlotta pretty hard. But it feels more accidental, because it's like, it doesn't do it at the end of every turn or something. It's just that's the only real instance it happens. So it does feel like it's more just the dragon being clumsy, like Shikita.
My turn.
And I know, putting sentimental value on the AI monster, just because of its ties to a character, is not healthy for my own empathy, but as you just saw there, this thing went down a lot quicker than the rest. It's over. Yes. Let's keep moving. We need to lift this curse as soon as possible, right? Charlotta. Yes, you're right. She's exactly right. Let's keep moving. And if that, all three of the children that went missing are now dealt with. Depressingly. That being said, and I had to make this point earlier, and it's going to become a point again later on, that the game doesn't expect you to have this outcome for the kids this soon. It really doesn't expect you to. So more so in the next video than this one, there's going to be moments where the characters will say, let's check on the girls, and it's just Faria. And you'll be like, huh? Like, there's going to be a few odd lines that don't make sense, because I've actually recorded a bit more ahead now, so I know what's coming in terms of recording to talk about. There's going to be a few odd lines for a while coming up that don't make the most sense, but understand it's just because the game doesn't expect you to have the kids dead already. But that being said, though, there's also going to be a point, as I just skip a bunch of encounters, that is literally the same enemy over and over again, so I just skip them all to save the trouble. There's going to be a point coming up where it's going to come up shooting the hole. Your madness scale has hit a certain point, but it won't play a madness scene. And I'm certain that it's because it involved one of the three kids, and because they're dead, it couldn't play it, because it's like, well, it doesn't make sense to play it.
Zephy finally decided to show up. You're late. While we were waiting for you, this wild dragon appeared. I wish we could have made it through the wilderness before having to go up against a dragon this big.
Sorry.
This is the guardian of the wastelands. We're gonna have to beat it to pass through.
It's getting ready to attack!
Let it come. We're in a hurry here, so let us pass!
But that's only my theory with it, as we go to fight Grand Boros a second time in my journey of doing Dragon Star playthroughs. Which, to be fair, Grand Boros, on hard mode, if it decides a character's going to die, they will die. Just throwing it out there. If it has like a... I can't remember if it's Fireball or Flame Breath, but it has a skill that's like a Fire Breath looking attack that's single target. If it hits the same person twice with it, it doesn't matter if they're in dragon form, doesn't matter if they're buffed. At our current standing, it will kill them. So you just, if you're following along, you just have to accept that. You're either grinding up a bunch, or you're just accepting that you're going to do that. And if you're doing your hard playthrough alongside your true ending playthrough, because you're trying to get as much done in one playthrough trophy-wise,
I'll do my best.
good luck. Good luck, because you're not even going to have the extra experience from dealing with the kid dragons. You're going to be racing through this, so you're not going to be fighting as much, so you're going to be a slightly lower level. And this thing, when it chooses to, can just one-shot any member of your party. And you're going to see during this, it does it a few times. Now's one of them. Hell's Fireball 1. Charlotte's dead. She just took 2,400 damage. There's no way she's living that. And she was in her dragon form. You see that I tilt the camera and look, and then I look at the dragon and I'm like, what? What the fuck? That's what I'm going to deal with?
Prepare yourself.
So I immediately pick her up and I'm like, okay, so now you have to just be aware. At any moment's notice, it can just pick to one-shot a character. And it getting a crit isn't particularly friendly either. Also, if it uses any of its standard physical attacks, they have paralysis properties, making this entire fight kind of a menace. Because if it's not one-shotting you, it's making characters unable to act. Your safest bet if you're struggling is make sure every living member has a defense boost of some kind, as it picks Zeti for death. Like again, like the whole double tap is just over. Have characters on different rows, which I don't think matters too much in this fight because of the nature of it. But the biggest thing that will help make a difference in this fight is have more than one healer. There is a dragon in this area that will give you heal all. It's an annoying one. It's a tiny dragon that will attempt to escape after several turns, so you don't get much opportunity to get it. But if you're struggling, grind out that dragon in this area a little bit. Even if you're going for the true ending and you're on hard at the same time, just save, go do a sweep of the area, try and get one. If you fail, then just reload your save so you don't waste time on the kids. But if you're really struggling with this fight, having several healers can really make a difference. Or if you can't get it, just have one person on group heal and one person on concentrated heal, because you should have a concentrated heal skill by now because of how many enemies have dropped them since the start of the game. You should really have one by now. If you don't, you've just got very unlucky, I suspect. But now we've broken the tail, we're still not out of harm's way yet, because it can still just one-shot at a moment's notice. And the fact that the bite can cause stun is such a problematic thing for it. But that's your main thing, is make sure people's defenses are buffed and have several healers, and you should be able to slip on through. And maybe have more than one character have the relief skill for revival, because you're going to run out of revival items otherwise eventually. Especially if you aren't using any of the DLC stuff. Like if you're just going in blind and you didn't install any of the free starter kit stuff in the game, you're gonna be in a disadvantage for this because you don't have those revival items. Or if you do, you only have like one or two of them, depending on what you brought from the shop at this point. And to be fair, Charlotte in here gets put down by an unfortunate critical. When I eventually go through this game again, not recording, I just mean in my own personal time, because I do genuinely love this game and enjoy going through it again, I do want to try and do a true ending playthrough on its hardest difficulty setting, Inferno, and just see how much the game really starts to rip into you and break down your basics. What I'd probably end up doing is grinding before the end of Chapter 3. Like, grinding a lot before then, just so everyone is like a high enough comfort level that I can kind of grace my way through it when it comes to like keeping an eye on the kids while pushing through. But I think that would be nice to just try.
Prepare yourself.
Which is a rare thing for me in actual turn-based JRPGs that have harder difficulties. It takes a lot to get me interested in doing a harder difficulty run. There are some games where I, without really giving it a second thought, I just hop in on hard mode and see how it goes. Because I'm curious to see how it goes. But then there are some games like say Death End Request 2 for instance, which is hard mode, doubles the health of every single enemy and boss in the game, amongst its other like slight stat changes, like every enemy hits a bit harder and has a bit more defense and whatnot. And so I just don't bother, because it's like that just sounds more annoying than actually extra difficult. Especially when you think the final boss has like 2.5 million health. So the fact that it would have 5 million health is just like, no, that's not worth it.
Let's go.
Whilst this, I actually like the stat differences and the fact it affects the enemy AI and how they act in battle. But that being said, although this is a shorter video, the next one's going to be a lot longer, so next time on Dragonstar Varnir. We've got that one part where it's like nothing but cutscenes again. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.